By the dawn of the 9th century, the land once known as Roman Britain had changed beyond recognition. The native Britons had been pushed to the edges of the island, to Wales, Cornwall, and the north, while new kingdoms ruled the heartlands. The Anglo-Saxons, who had once come as mercenaries and settlers, now ruled as kings. But out of this chaos, from tribal warlords and shattered lands, a new identity began to take shape. This is the story of how the Anglo-Saxon world transformed Britain into England. After centuries of migration and conquest, the island was divided among several competing Anglo-Saxon realms: Northumbria in the north, Mercia in the center, and Wessex in the south. Each was ruled by kings who claimed descent from legendary founders like Woden or Hengist. Yet, their cultures were already beginning to blend. Pagan warriors and Christian priests building a fragile civilization atop the ruins of Rome. Trade flourished again through towns like London, York, and Canterbury. Art and learning, once lost in the post-Roman collapse, were reborn in illuminated manuscripts and monasteries. But beneath this progress, war was never far away. Rival kings fought for dominance, and the dream of uniting the island under one rule seemed impossible. Life in Anglo-Saxon England revolved around the village, the tune. Families farmed together, bound by loyalty to their lord and kin. Law was personal. Every injury had a price, and every man had a worth. Roman cities had long since fallen into ruin. In their place rose wooden halls, farms, and mead halls, the heart of each community. Inside, stories like Beowulf were sung by the fire, celebrating courage, loyalty, and fate. Society was built on rank. Kings in their thanes, freemen known as churls, and slaves at the bottom. Yet, even in this rigid world, the Anglo-Saxons left behind a rich artistic legacy. Intricate jewelry, ornate crosses, and treasures like those found at Sutton Hoo, blending Germanic symbols with hints of Christian faith. It was a world both simple and sophisticated, rough-hewn, but deeply human. That fragile balance shattered in the late 8th century. In 793, the monastery of Lindisfarne was raided, the first great Viking attack recorded in England. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle described it as a great terror, and for good reason. The Northmen came not as traders, but as conquerors. For nearly a century, Viking armies burned, pillaged, and carved out kingdoms of their own. Entire regions, like the Danelaw, fell under Norse control. Yet this invasion did something unexpected. It forced the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms to adapt, unify, and resist together. And at the center of that resistance was Wessex. King Alfred of Wessex, remembered as Alfred the Great, became the defining figure of this era. When the Viking Great Heathen Army swept through England, most kingdoms fell, but Alfred refused to yield. From the marshes of Athelney, he launched a daring counterattack, driving out the invaders and securing Wessex's survival. But Alfred's vision went beyond survival. He reformed laws, built fortified towns known as burhs, revived education, and encouraged the use of Old English in writing, not just Latin. In doing so, Alfred helped shape a national identity. The people of Wessex no longer saw themselves as separate tribes, but as part of a single people, the English. By the early 10th century, Alfred's descendants, kings like Edward the Elder and Ethelstan, expanded Wessex's influence across the island. In 937, Ethelstan achieved what no ruler before him had. He unified the Anglo-Saxon and Viking lands under one crown after his victory at the Battle of Brunanburh. Chroniclers hail him as the Rex Totius Britannia, or the Bretwalda, better known as the King of all Britain. It was under Ethelstan that the idea of England, the land of the English, truly took form. Though the Vikings would return and new empires would rise, the foundation had been laid. From invaders, settlers, and survivors, a nation was born. The Anglo-Saxon invasion had begun as chaos, waves of warriors carving out kingdoms from a dying empire. But out of that turmoil came something lasting, a shared language, a unified identity, and the roots of the England we know today. From the ashes of Rome and the storms of the north, the English nation emerged, forged by conquest, faith, and survival.